What's up, guys? We're going to be breaking down the most optimized way to invest and save your money. So if you're wondering where exactly you should be putting your hard-earned dollars, this episode is for you. And don't forget to stick around until the end, because we're going to show you this type of savings plan live in action with real numbers. Welcome back, guys. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you like today's content. And of course, if you need help with your own financial plan, reach out to us at www.modernwealth.com. That's modern spelled with no vowels, wealth.com. So I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen those pretty charts and graphs where you put, X amount of dollars in and you end up with like a bajillion dollars at the end. But as you already know, there's tons of different ways to go about doing this. So today is all about giving you a streamlined and hopefully easy to follow game plan to get this all done. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into step number one. So step number one is creating a base cash reserve in your checking account. Now notice I said checking account, not a high yield savings account or a money market fund. Your checking account should be where you keep a 1 month cash reserve for your base expenses. So if you're spending, let's say $6K a month, then you should keep $6K a month in your checking account to ensure that your bills are covered. This is to ensure things like auto pay go through smoothly, your mortgage and rent can be automatically covered without issues, etc. Basically, all we're doing here is trying to ensure we have enough cash to ensure your bills can be covered via auto pay without any issues. Step number two is taking advantage of your 401k match. Let's say you get paid $100,000 and your employer gives you a 4% match on that $100,000. That means when you put in $4,000, or in this case, 4% of your salary, you are getting $4,000 from your employer. That's essentially a 100% return on your investment. I can't think of another way to double your money this fast. Now, obviously, these matches are subject to vesting requirements in most cases, but nonetheless, your employer match is not just free money to take advantage of, but it's too good of a deal to not prioritize when creating a savings plan. So now that we have a bare minimum of cash on hand and we're taking advantage of the free money our employer is giving us, we can now move on to step number three, and that's establishing an emergency fund. Now, I did an entire video on how much cash you should keep in your portfolio, but in a nutshell, you want to calculate what your monthly burn rate is and multiply it by 3 to 6 times. From here, you'll add in deductibles for insurance and any other short-term liabilities that need to be accounted for, like taxes. If the number you came up with is, let's say, $30,000, then you'll want to keep this amount in a money market fund or high yield savings account to maximize interest on this cash reserve. Now moving on to step number 4, and that's paying off high interest debt that you have. Now the $1 million question is, what constitutes high interest debt? There really isn't a general consensus on this one in the financial community, but my general rule of thumb is if the rate is above 8%, you should prioritize paying it off. The reason why I selected 8% is that 8% is roughly how much you get annually on average by investing in the stock market. If your interest rate on a loan is, let's say, only 4.5%, but you can earn 8% investing on average, then you are probably better off investing that cash and paying off that loan according to its standard repayment schedule. If that loan was, let's say, 13% or 20%, then you are better off prioritizing paying off that loan as soon as possible. So if you made it this far, you are now in a position where you can really start saving and investing for the future. Now, I want to make something very clear before we move forward here. The order in which you save from here could look different depending on your goals. So for example, I work with a lot of couples where saving for their children's education is a top priority for them. If that's the case, putting more of their savings energy towards that goal is probably going to make more sense. Other people really want to save for their first home, and that matters to them more than anything else. The reasons are endless. But the reason why I want to highlight this fact before we move forward is I see too many people get caught up in trying to follow savings flowcharts or following guides, even the one that you're currently watching, and think that if they don't follow these exact steps, they're doomed. And I'm telling you guys right now that could not be further from the truth. If putting more of your hard-earned dollars into a custom financial goal is what is going to give you the most fulfillment, then go for it. Now, if you're like a lot of people who, if they've reached this step, wouldn't know what to do, keep following along. And of course, like and subscribe if you're finding this helpful. So step number 5 is maxing out your 401k. I always tell folks that if they want to be ultra wealthy, like I'm talking top 1% type wealthy, like wealthy, they got to get to that first $1 million. The reason for this is when you look at the power of compound interest, it's much easier and faster to make the next 1 million once you have the first one. Now, that's a big number, but when you are loading up your 401k, you can get to that number faster than you think. If we assume you max out your 401k, which is $23,000 in 2024, and let's assume that you get a $4,000 match from your employer every single year, that's $27,000 a year. If we go ahead and invest that at an average of, let's say, 8% per year, it would take us about 18 years to get to $1 million. In reality, you probably get there faster since the max you can put in your 401k generally goes up every year. Your salary will likely increase as well, and therefore that employer match will likely go up in addition to that. And again, when we get towards our example at the end, you're going to see this illustrated with a real example. Step number 6 is maxing out your HSA or health savings account. Now, we're assuming that you are eligible to contribute to an HSA because you have a health insurance plan that qualifies you for one. If this is you, then maxing out your HSA is the next best thing you can do. In 2024, you can put in a total of $4,150 if you have self-only coverage, or $8,300 if you have a family plan into your HSA. If we assume that you put in $8,300, that's not only an $8,300 tax deduction, which could save you thousands, but you now have access to what I like to call a hybrid Roth account. The reason why I call it a hybrid Roth account is that the dollars in your HSA grow tax-free and come out tax-free if used for qualified medical expenses. But if you wait until 65, the dollars in your HSA can now be used for non-qualified medical expenses without penalty. So my general guideline for your HSA is to max it out, invest the hell out of it, and don't touch it, because once you are later on in retirement, you not only have an account that can cover your medical bills tax-free, but you also have an account that could potentially supplement your actual living expenses without penalty. Step number 7 is contributing directly to a Roth IRA, or if you make too much, to contribute to a Roth via a backdoor Roth IRA. Now, you probably have heard about how amazing Roth accounts are, and you might be wondering why we're contributing to one this late in the process and it isn't one of the first steps. The reason for this is that the concept of creating scale and efficiency needs to be applied to your savings plan. In other words, the more you can automate your savings and investing strategy and not think twice about it, the more successful you will be. Contributing to a 401k and employer-sponsored HSA is generally something that is done through payroll, and it automatically comes out of your paycheck, making it very easy to put these dollars into those accounts. While it is easy to put money in a Roth, and you can even set up auto contributions from your bank, the fact that it isn't automated through your paycheck is why I have it as step number 7. Now, regarding the benefits of a Roth, I'm sure I don't need to tell most of you why Roth is so amazing, but in a nutshell, the money in a Roth grows tax-free, and once you turn 59 and a half, comes out completely tax-free as well. In addition to this, if you were truly pressed in an emergency situation, you could technically withdraw your principal from your Roth without penalty or taxes, but I generally don't recommend that you have this in the back of your mind. When you put money in your Roth, you should commit to investing that long term. Now, step number 8, we're actually going to take a brief pause from retirement savings. If you've been following along to this point for 2024, this means that we've put away $23,000 into the 401k plus whatever match we got. We've put away $8,300 into our HSA because we have a family plan. And then we've put another $7,000 away into our Roth. So that's nearly $40,000 that we've put away, which is awesome. But the money we are putting away is heavily geared towards retirement and longer term investing, which is fantastic. But what if we wanted to use our money, let's say 10 years from now? Maybe we aren't retirement age at that point. Maybe we're at a point where we have a non-retirement related goal that we really want to use our savings for. That could be something like an investment property or even starting a business. The reality is that I find that people who have a decent amount of money put away in non-retirement savings generally are happier and have more flexibility to fund different financial goals. I can't tell you how many people I have worked with who literally have millions in retirement accounts and yet have told me they feel broke. And you probably think that sounds insane to say out loud, but it's true. And the number one reason for this is because they lack really much assets in non-retirement dollars. So I'm a huge advocate of ensuring that there's sufficient non-retirement dollars on your balance sheet as you're accumulating wealth. So an easy equation you can follow to ensure you get some money stuffed away for non-retirement related goals is to put 50% of whatever you put in your 401k into a brokerage account. So if you are a single person who put away, let's say $23,000 into their 401k, take 50% of $23,000, which is $11,500, and aim to put that in a brokerage account. This will allow you to save for non-retirement related goals. And worst case scenario is just simply another retirement bucket that you can utilize for tax planning purposes when you actually retire. So at this point, you're sitting real pretty. You have almost $40,000 put away for retirement, and you have $11,500 put away in a brokerage account to give you some flexibility on your balance sheet and savings plan. So for step number 9, we want to take advantage of the mega backdoor Roth if you have it available to you. If you're not familiar with the mega backdoor Roth, let's take a look at an example. So as a refresher, we have put in $23,000 into our 401k, which is the employee max for 2024. Let's also assume our employer put in, let's say, $4,000 for a total of $27,000 in the plan. For 2024, the aggregate maximum limit you can put in a 401k plan, including employee, employer, and voluntary after-tax contributions, is $69,000. So we have another $42,000 before we hit that limit. So what we are going to do so we hit that limit and take advantage of the mega backdoor Roth is we are going to make a voluntary after-tax contribution of $42,000, and we're immediately going to convert this to a Roth. There is no additional tax when this is done correctly, and there is no income limitations on this strategy. The key is, however, you need to have a 401k plan that allows for voluntary after-tax contributions, as well as the ability to convert those dollars over to a Roth. Step number 10 is also one that might not be available to you, but if you have it, it can be a fantastic benefit. And that's an employee stock purchase plan, or an ESPP. We did an entire episode on ESPP plans that we'll link in the description. But in a nutshell, this is a way that you can contribute, as of 2024, up to $25,000 to a plan dedicated to purchasing your company stock. Now, the reason why this is potentially appealing is that an ESPP usually allows you to purchase your company stock at a 15% discount. If you were to, in theory, sell the stock the moment you received it at that 15% discount, you would essentially be making a profit right away, even when you factor in taxes. Now this, when executed correctly, is free money and it's fantastic. And I believe for the right person, this step could likely be bumped up earlier in our savings flow. But the reason why I have it listed at number 10 is first and foremost, most people don't sell the stock immediately, despite the fact there is essentially a guaranteed positive return in doing so. From my experience working with prospective clients on this issue, they often just hold on to their shares. And while it's not as common for the stock market to casually fall more than 15%, individual stocks fall more than 15% all the time. So it's very easy to lose any sort of benefit from the ESPP if you aren't disciplined. The second reason why I don't have it listed earlier is I often see folks mess up tax reporting on the ESPP, and it ends up either being a huge headache to clean up or they inadvertently pay more in taxes. Again, I break all of this down in our ESPP episode. So bottom line is ESPPs are fantastic when utilized the right way. The problem is that doesn't always happen. And in my opinion, when designing the most optimal way to save and invest wealth, there isn't just a mathematical element to the equation, but there's also an ease of use element as well. Again, we want a super scalable and easy way to stack up and build wealth. So if you're lucky enough to make it to step number 11 is to put the remaining amount of cash that you have left over into your brokerage account. So remember, we already put some money in the account back in step 8, but now we're coming back to it. Your brokerage account is the most flexible savings vehicle you have. And what I mean by that is that it's an account that can be used for long-term goals like retirement, but it also can be used for more intermediate term goals like buying a home, and can even be used for short-term goals like a big vacation. This account truly can be whatever you need it to be. So let's go ahead and look at an example of this type of savings plan in action. So this is a cash flow map very similar to the one we create for our clients at Modern Wealth. What you are looking at is a simulated scenario where we have a married couple, they are 35, they live in California, and they both make $200,000 for a total of $400K. As you can see, we have baked in $8,000 a month in their monthly expenses, plus we baked in their tax liability. So we're going to go ahead and assume they're going to max out their 401k and take advantage of a 4% match on their income. We're going to assume that they max out the mega backdoor Roth, they max out their backdoor Roth, and they also max out their HSA. Plus, what you see at the bottom there for about 45k is how much money goes into a brokerage account. So we're at about $200,000 in total savings for the year. If we grow this nest egg by, let's say, 7.5% per year and assume some cost of living adjustments to our salary over time, this 35-year-old couple accumulates over $1.2 million in savings before they turn 40. And to add to it, they're on pace to be at over $10 million in savings before they turn 55. When you look at the data here, notice how that $10 million is spread out. They have over $1 million in a taxable brokerage account that can be used for anything not related to retirement. They have about $3.6 million in a pre-tax retirement account. And then they have a total of over $5 million in Roth dollars that are completely tax-free. And then they have almost $500,000 in their HSA. What's beautiful about this type of balance sheet is the flexibility. If they retire before 59 and a half, there's plenty of money in their taxable brokerage account for them to live on. If they wanted to go buy, let's say, a dream house by the beach, they could maybe do that. If they are looking to convert a lot of those pre-tax dollars over to the Roth, well, they have money in a brokerage account that could cover the tax bill associated with that. So the possibilities are really endless here, and it all boils down to the fact that they did, number one, a fantastic job saving, and number two, they have a really diverse set of financial buckets to dip into. So there you have it, guys. Whether you're just starting to build wealth or if you're a super saver, just trying to find the most optimal way that you should save, hopefully you found this content helpful today. Of course, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you need help with your own financial plan, reach out to us at www.modernwealth.com. That's modern, spelled with no vowels, wealth.com. I'll see you next time.